Well, hello, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today on Geeks of Color. I'm a huge fan of, obviously your music, but of course, this movie and your filmography. Um, and I got to say, watching Cutthroat City, I was really impressed by the social commentary and the themes, especially when it comes to Hurricane Katrina, right? Because I feel like that's like a largely like unaddressed subject matter. So tell me about your decision making and incorporating such a historic city like New Orleans and making that the center point, and how the destruction of Hurricane Katrina kind of affect the livelihood there.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a disaster for the country, but a bigger disaster for the community. And while New Orleans felt it, no one felt it like the lower Ninth Ward. And even years later, the residue of what that disaster left behind, it remains. When I read the screenplay written by Paul Kashuri, um, I found the relationship to it. I'm not from New Orleans, I'm from New York.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of four young men trying to figure out life and then feel like you're on the right path, and then natural disaster strikes you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It washes away your dreams. But you notice in the film, in many of our communities, the tenacity of our people was still strong. Meaning, he was like, don't worry about it. We don't need FEMA. We don't need this. We're going to figure it out. And you try to take the proper path, but yet options are denied us.
Mm-hmm.
And the big punchline for me, that when I was reading it, I was like, okay, he goes down to FEMA. Him and his wife are not bums. They're working class. They pay taxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when you pay taxes, you pay to the system so that when you need the system comes back and help you.
Right.
But here the system denied the lower Ninth Ward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. So when I read that, I was like, that's crazy because, from New York, we had, I'm a welfare baby.
Right.
Man, and I remember my mother getting denied food stamps or money based on my step-pops may have came and visited or something. You know what I mean? So I had a resonance to it, but also, New Orleans is a beautiful city, beautiful people, but this tragedy definitely left a permanent stain. And so as a filmmaker, you look to tell stories that can definitely build social commentary, but also have a relationship to yourself. And hopefully you could, while telling that story, you could get a conversation going about what could we do to make things better in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, for me, that's really what moved me about the whole film, is because you kind of take this like kind of up close look at like how this kind of affected, especially Shameik Moore's character, right? And I want to ask you about Shameik because, he is one of my favorite actors. He obviously was in the Wu-Tang series, that was on, I believe, Showtime, if I'm not mistaken.
On
And
Hulu.
then Hulu. Oh, that's right. And then obviously I'm one of the Get Down's one of my favorite shows that was also on Netflix, which is also big on New York hip hop, right? So, I kind of feel like hip hop has always had this, relationship with the poor and the, kind of, the communities that don't have the same kind of resources. So is that maybe something you factored in casting an actor like Shameik Moore? Or, we obviously see Demetrius Shipp from All Eyes on Me and T.I. obviously, and Wesley Snipes. And these are all people who kind of have like hip hop connections. Do you is that something you kind of factored into the making of this movie?
No, actually did not factor that in. What I did factor in was I'm a fan of Shameik's work. I first saw him in a movie called Dope,
Mm-hmm.
by Forrest Whitaker and Nina Yang. And I remember when they made that movie, I'm friends with them. So I saw it early and I was like, oh, this kid he's funny. But then I later saw him in The Get Down and I really was impressed. It was two good actors. I mean, all the actors was good. I like Justice. It was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
But Shameik and what's my brother name? The brother who played Cadillac.
Oh, Yahya.
Yahya.
Mm-hmm.
Shameik and Yahya both stood out as just great talent. If they was rappers, they was Nas. You know what I mean?
Right.
In that particular show. And so when I had a chance to meet him for the role of for Raekwon and for Blink, whatever, it was just like he just has it. He has this chameleon ability. He's nothing like the characters he play. He's very internal. And to see that, he never held a gun until he did the movie Cutthroat City.
Wow.
But you couldn't tell that about him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a talent, and I'm looking forward to see him grow and keep making films and projects for you. But when I had a chance to make him basically he's the lead of the film.
Mm-hmm. Basically, yeah.
I was like, yo, I think I got an ace with this guy. You know what I mean? His agent was like, what do you think? I was like, you know what? Blink. Boom. He's Blink. Mm-hmm. And bong bong. Yeah,
and then you've worked with some heavy hitters like before in the past. You Man in the Iron Fist, which I saw in theaters. Love that movie. I'm a big, martial arts kung fu guy myself, and I thought that was dope. You worked with Russell Crowe there, and your next film with John David Washington, and Azalea Banks, and all of those people. So you've worked with a lot of really talented actors. Was directing this ensemble cast difficult for you? I know you've obviously have directed big cast and big actors before, but this seems like a much more personal, more, raw and stripped down story. Was that difficult for you as a director?
I wouldn't say that part of it wasn't difficult because, the story resonated with everybody who came on board, right? So, actors are not going to come on board just because it's you, right? There got to be something there for them to feel. Mm-hmm. And the story was felt by the talent. And then, of course, it's my duty to drive that all the way home and to be always connected to it in case anybody else get lost on the path. Being an artist myself, I think gives me a small advantage because I kind of could understand what will make an artist comfortable and uncomfortable. And I prefer to be comfortable as an artist. So I prefer as a director to keep my artists comfortable, to keep the talent comfortable. And I also prefer to have an understanding about the film or the story or the characters. And I know that my talent would prefer that because I prefer it. And so therefore, my communication with the talent is always pure. And I also have been in situations where I didn't want nobody to tell me what to do. When I was doing Californication as an actor, I made my mind up on the character, on who he's going to be. They gave me his name, Samurai Apocalypse. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to act just like the people I don't like seeing act like this. And I'm going to have fun. Yeah. Because I didn't want to play a rapper as a rapper. Then I said, I'm not going to play it as myself. Mm-hmm. I'm going to play it as the way people lose themselves when they get a little bit of something. Mm-hmm. And when the directors would come to me and wonder if I could try this or try that, there was times where I would give it to them because they're the director, but it wasn't what the character was doing. It didn't match, and so I understand also when an actor is like, yo, like if you watch Cutthroat City, the pipe was not my choice. That was the actor's choice. It wasn't from me or the costume designer. Wesley felt that this character, based on where he lived, when he saw the shack that we built. Mm-hmm. When he came to the set early, and I was like, well, we just finished building your home. He's like, damn, that's mine. Yeah, we built this whole shit for you. And he went in, he walked around. Next day he came in with a pipe. He's like, if I live here, this is the type of guy, this is the kind of guy he is. And so, and I was like, cool. That's cool. Yeah, so.
That's really amazing. And, obviously Wesley's one of the greatest talents I think we've ever had. I mean, with some Blade and don't even get me started on how much I love Blade. And then White Man Can't Jump's one of my favorites. So I just love seeing hearing that he got in there and really dedicated. I do have one more question real quick. I don't want to hold too much of your time, but I do know you have collaborated with Quentin Tarantino before in the past, right? Like with stuff like Kill Bill and stuff like that. And even y'all in the beginning of this film, there's like a little mini Tarantino conversation, right, about Reservoir Dogs. So do you have a favorite Tarantino movie? And did any of his directing, he's a world-renowned director, obviously. You've worked with a lot of talent, but did him in particular have any kind of influence on your directing here, or?
I mean, yeah, he's my he's my teacher when it comes to that. He's the one that gave me the most information and the most knowledge and wisdom that I needed to direct and to be a filmmaker. I gained it from him. And I got a long way to go, of course, but, as you can see, I'm getting there.
Right.
And to be honest with you, before I answer your question, I just want to say that opening dialogue is actually about me.
Really?
So, yeah, the opening dialogue, when they say, everything ain't got to be this over-the-top Tarantino shit, you know what I mean? You need to make it real on some Scorsese. I was making a joke on myself because Man with the Iron Fist was that.
Yeah.
But this film is not going to be that. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of putting that joke out front for myself to be like, okay. And Quentin even gave me that advice after Iron Fist. He said to me, he was like, "Wow, this is big. You went big." He said, "You understand now, but you need to narrow it down." And so you notice in this film, I have 4 main characters as the lead, and now you don't have to look all around and get lost in what's going on. And even in Love Beats Rhymes, I had a singular character. Mm-hmm. So I took his advice, and now that I've done that, I'm ready to open back up again. Oh. So I just want to share that with you. And then as far as my favorite movie from him, wow, I mean, it keeps changing, right? Because he just happened to be, when you saw Inglourious Basterds, you couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah.
You couldn't believe everybody who's into art got to say, yo, that film was 5 mic. If it was an album, it's 5 mics. Mm-hmm. But then he came back with Django, 5 mics. Okay.
Yeah.
And then where some people, I don't know, may differ on Hateful Eight, for me, still 5 mics. Because once again, containment. Mm-hmm. If you look at that movie, it's a perfect exhibition of containment. And that's a unique quality to have as a filmmaker, to contain everything in that location and yet entertain through the whole process. Mm. So anyway, that's my Tarantino favorites.
Yeah, no, those are my favorites too. Django, I probably watched in theaters probably like 6 times, like something like that. Just seeing a black dude, breaking those slave chains and just I love that.
Going off.
Yeah, that's some fire stuff right there. But yeah, thank you so much, Mr. RZA. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking to us at Geeks of Color, especially with this film. I think it's going to impact a lot of people. I personally am from the great city of Compton, California, and we deal with our fair share of systematic oppression and being stood down upon and looked down upon, especially by the systems in place. So watching this movie, I really connected to it, and I think a lot of people are going to connect to it. So thank you again, and I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thank you. Peace.
Thank you. All right, peace.